This is the Barbecue Central Show podcast, being generated from a live recording of the Barbecue Central Show, which airs at thebbqcentralshow.com every Tuesday between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Barbecue Central Show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, makers of automatic pit temperature control devices. Visit them at thebbqguru.com or call them 800-288-GURU. And by Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply, sauces, rubs, grills, smokers, everything for the outdoor chef. Visit them online at tastylicksbbq.com or call them 800-677-2882. And by Butcher Barbecue, manufacturers of premium injections, rubs, and sauces. Visit them online and take full advantage at butcherbbq.com. And by Stephen DeFranco Jeweler, official jeweler of the Barbecue Central Show. Visit them at StephenDeFranco.com or call 440-943-2700 and use keyword Barbecue Brother to receive all the discounts. And by iGrill, manufacturer of Bluetooth-enabled temperature, which is generated and sent to your smart device. You can find out more information by visiting iGrillInc.com. Use promo code CENTRAL to get 15% off your entire order at the iGrill Inc. store. And by Green Mountain Grills, one of the country's premier pellet grill manufacturers. 3 different sizes to choose from, something to fit in every budget, and find out more by visiting greenmountaingrills.com. And by Cook Shack, the country's premier manufacturer of electronic and pellet-driven cookers, servicing the residential, commercial, and competition markets. Visit cookshack.com for more information.
Who's wood? Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey, welcome to another edition of the really big Barbecue Central Show. Give me 1 second. Oy vey. Look like a yellow nightmare. What's going on over there? Whoa. Access token is missing. What's an access token? I don't know. Oh, boy. All right, now hold on just a goddamn minute. Wow, the color on that is just ridiculous. What happened? No sooner does John Dawson talk about all sorts of technical issues in an email chain just by happenstance. And wow. It's no better. It's a little better. All right, what am I going to do? Here we go. All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast here, so nobody freak out. I'm still getting it on the audio. Wow, that was brutal. This is the Barbecue Central Show. We talk about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. We broadcast live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, rapidly becoming known as the barbecue capital of the North Coast. Hell, as in most cases, many people regard it as the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, please make note of this new number. Not toll-free anymore, because quite frankly, nobody really uses the toll-free number. So, I was like, why bother keeping it? I don't know. 216-220-0966 is the number. 216-220-0966 is the phone number if you want to jump in on the show tonight. And if you don't, if you would rather... Wow. I mean, it's just a bad looking deal here. Wow. Let me go to the video input. Let me go to the advanced settings. Can I fix it myself? I doubt it. Wow. Hey, I did kind of fix it right there. All right, so let's go back to broadcasting on the thing here. And let's do this here. And pretty much we should all be going. Again, if you missed it, and I'm sure people just on the video side did, make new note of the number that you can call in on. I'm not renewing the 800 number because, quite frankly, it doesn't get used, so I'm not going to pay for it if it doesn't get used. I do pay for this number. It's the old hotline. If you recall it, 216-220-0966. You can use that number. Look, if you're paying for long distance still, wake up, man. Get in the 18th century, for crying out loud. You can also still email the show at the same address, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. Here's what's happening on the show coming up in about 11 minutes from now. Creator of the Amazing Ribs website, Meathead Goldwyn, joining us. Second Tuesday of every month, as always. Then we'll move into the second hour, and we'll find a newest sponsor of the show. He was on near-ish of the end of 2013. President and CEO of Cook Shack, Stuart Powell, joining us. Excited to talk to Stuart on a number of different levels. And then we will round out the show with your latest with your latest grand champion at the Sam's Club local event, which took place in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It is Dennis May, pitmaster of Smokin N The Dark. He was calling me from Beaumont, Texas, but that might be just where he works. So very excited, jam-packed show. If you want to jump in, again, more than happy to have you, 216-220-0966. You can also email the show, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. As always, please make a Facebook post or some type of social media posting letting your friends know that the show was on. OutdoorCookingChannel.com, the place to go to find the video feed. My website, thebbqcentralshow.com, is the place to go to get the audio stuff. If you have Roku, download the Outdoor Cooking Channel app, and then you can stream it there on Tuesdays. And you can also get a host of other shows on Roku as well. But this is the one that is live and most noteworthy on Roku, from what I understand. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes for audio replays, YouTube for videos, Outdoor Cooking Channel for videos, this website, the main website, Barbecue Central for website for replays of video, audio. No reason you should ever miss anything on the show, ever. If you hear about it, you can always go back somewhere and find it. And as I just mentioned, again, one more time, there is no 800 number. Sorry.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Again, make the note, 216-220-0966. I'm saying make a note like anybody's going to call in, but the bottom line is most people don't call in. And by most, I mean many people never call in, which is fine. Don't call in, just hang out, listen, enjoy, contribute in the chat room if you like, whatever. But that is the key bit of contact information that is finally changing low these many years, 216-220-0966, which was the first call-in number of the show. So it changed, but it's reverting back to what it was in the beginning, and, you know, what can I tell you? Did anybody happen to catch the show last week? I'm just wondering, because I find it funny in a way that out of all of the years that I have done this show, and it harkens me back to an opening conversation that I had with one Mike McLeod, CEO of MMA Creative, creator of the World Food Championships. This was probably maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. And the way it's set up, like for guests, is, you know, I do a little email communication. Sometimes I can do a little phone communication with folks, give them a little insight as to, you know, how this thing's going to happen. But, you know, it's just me. It's just a one-man show. I don't have a staff. I don't have engineers and producers, and I'm just able to host the show all on my own. There's a billion different things going on here. And so I don't want to say shortcuts have to be made, but there are some exact procedures that take place. For instance, when I'm connecting with a guest, typically on the phone, I can hear a lot of stuff that's going on in my earpiece that you guys can't hear, and you'll thank me for that. But I tell people, when I call you, I'm not a producer, or there isn't like a warm-up guy for you to get on with, and then I pick you up and we're off and running. When I pick it up, You're hearing the show live. I'll do a quick introduction. Then at the end, as unprofessional as it is, I just kind of hang up on you, and we keep moving. And the finished product is a lot more graceful and a lot more polished and produced than, it actually is in the inner workings. But people who do the show understand exactly, what it's all about, and they don't need to be catered to and given $5 bills when they leave and all that other stuff. But Mike said, I would always go to Mike and be like, here, standing on by, Mike McLeod. And one time he was like, you are a really trustworthy guy that I'm going to be the guy on the other end of the phone. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you be the guy on the other end of the phone? I'm calling your number. Well, lo and behold, last week, imposter alert. I dialed the number that Patrick Banks gave me from Booty Q to talk about his win at the local Sam's Club qualifier. But he mistyped a number, and I dialed it, and it went to an actual working phone number. And really, for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, this guy played along with the phone call. I was asking him questions. I should have known. Well, I either thought, man, this is going to be a really tough interview because he's giving me 1- and 2-word answers. Or that should have been the tip-off that I have the wrong number, and things are about to get really sketchy and sideways really quick. And that's kind of what happened. So if you missed the show last week, go back and listen to where I'm supposed to be interviewing Patrick Banks from Booty Q, and listen to this guy hang up on me twice. I thought it was a bad phone connection. I think the guy was getting freaked, and then he would just hang up on me. And when I finally asked him how he came up with the name Booty Q, that was it. He was gone. And then Patrick Banks really called into the show, and he's said at some point right in the beginning of the conversation that he had mistyped the phone number when we were corresponding back and forth. And he's like, I don't know who you're talking to, but that's not me. I was like, it's not you. You said you and just a group of friends. I mean, it was great. The guy was classic. Played along with it. Was really one of the prime time things that have happened in 2014. Was actually gone into the year in review page that I am now making after every show. So I am not behind racing to do a year in review show at the end of the year. Because I didn't even do an end of the year show last year, or a year in review last year, mostly because we were in the process of getting the new house built. Nevertheless, coming up out of the break and the break after that, Meathead. But before we get to meat, let me talk to you about Stephen DeFranco Jewelers. Guys, big holidays are coming up. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, all areas in which you need to make sure that you're buying the right gifts. And if you're thinking about jewelry, get out of the mall, get out of the people that are chain stores. There's a lot of overhead. You're paying for a lot of stuff that you don't need to pay for. Go to StephenDeFranco.com. Stephen, DIFRANCO. StephenDeFranco.com, or visit my homepage and click on his banner. Go to his website and kind of peruse what he has. It's one shop. It's very large. It's got a lot of inventory, a lot of stuff that you won't find anywhere else, a lot of stuff that he gets made just for him. And what I like best about it is Stephen and his staff are not in the business of trying to, sell you something that you're not looking for. If you're looking to stay within a budget, they will establish that. If you're looking to project a certain mood or elicit a certain type of emotion with your gift, they're going to ask you those questions and then give you a bunch of different things to choose from. They're not going to try and talk you up $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more than you were originally looking to spend, because quite honestly, not only do they want the business this time out, but they want it again the next time you're going to make a jewelry purchase. Maybe you got 3 daughters like me, and you're going to be buying a lot of jewelry for the rest of your life. See, that's where the keen instincts come in when you're dealing with a guy like Steve and the gang over there at Stephen DeFranco Jewelers. Not looking to punch you in the face and run away one time. Looking to build that relationship, build the trust factor, and earn your repeat business over the course of your life. So here's what you got to do. Dial them up, 440-943-2700. That's 440-943-2700. Ask for Steve directly. He owns the shop, and then he's going to give you the great price. Tell him you're a barbecue brother or sister. Tell him you listen to the show all the time, and Rempy tells you to call in for the discount. And if you do it and you're not more than overjoyed, you call me and tell me. I'll make it right. 440-943-2700. StephenDeFranco.com. Meathead coming up out of the break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back. 877-448-0433. Greg at the BBQ Centralshow.com. That is the... wait, I think I gave you the wrong phone number. It's not 877 anymore. I'm breaking my own rules. It's 216-220-0966. Those are the numbers to get in touch with me should you see fit to do so. And let me make sure that we have my... oh, where did they go? Oh, boy. Here we go. This is the theme song of the man that is gracing the internet with high presence. Okay, well, maybe it's not going to work, so I'll do it this way instead. My, oh my, we're dealing with it all over the place. My next guest, creator of Amazing Ribs. You can find it at AmazingRibs.com. We head on over to the hotline and welcome back our monthly contributor, Meathead Goldwyn, joining us here on the show. Meathead, how are you?
I'm great. How's the Cleveland Cavalier of barbecue?
Oh, absolutely fabulous, Meathead. Appreciate you asking. Did you pass wind or something over there? What are you doing?
No. It's warming up finally, although we're going to get 3 to 6 inches of snow tonight.
Yes.
But the lead question we have from Gene Apicella is about hot weather cooking. So I'm I got my sunglasses, my fan,
your sweatshirt.
My sweatshirt, yeah.
Should be
I was
going to
pull Putin on you. I was going to take my shirt off, but I decided nobody wants to see that.
Well, maybe not nobody, but the majority of folks. I'll go ahead and agree with you on that one. Meathead, you're a big fan of the show. Can you believe the imposterism that took place last week?
I heard. That's hysterical. I think the guy should get like a free T-shirt or something, Greg. I mean,
well, I don't know if he should get a free T-shirt or if he should just call back in and I should just interview him on his merit. I mean,
yeah, put him on regularly.
Something crazy.
Have him, have him just fake answers. You ought to get one of those guys from Funny or Die, Gianflakis, whoever just interviewed the president, and have him just fake it. Ask him whatever you want, and they'll make up answers.
Yeah, that was something else that took place last week. As I said, if you missed it, go back, listen to it on the podcast. Well worth a listen. Meathead, before we get into hot weather cooking, how about this book that you've been working on for the last 7 years? I mean, what's our project here on this?
God. Well, the good news is my publisher gave me a 1-year extension. So if anybody's out there holding their breath, you're going to turn blue.
No kidding.
The worst thing a publisher can ever tell you is I want something definitive. If she just said I wanted something good, it'd have been done a long time ago.
No.
But she wants it definitive.
What does that mean? What's definitive?
Me, but
What's definitive mean? What does definitive mean?
I don't know. I mean,
definitive according to what?
I'm struggling through. I just hired a sous chef yesterday to come in and help me with some new recipes for the book because, obviously we don't want everything that's on the website in the book. Otherwise, nobody's going to buy the book. So, it should be a good book when I'm done. It'll encapsulate a lot of the stuff that you and I talk about that's on the website. It's called The Science of Barbecue and Grilling. So we're going to try and cover a lot of the technical stuff, and it should be a decent book if I ever get it done.
Do you think you'll be on like QVC hawking this thing at some point, or like what's the?
I don't. They actually said that there would be a book tour. Now I don't know what your
tour.
I mean, anybody out there who's paid attention to what's happened to the world since the internet has come about knows that print media is really endangered. I mean, it's.
I don't know about the book part of it. They seem to be selling pretty well books-wise, not papers and magazines. magazines,
especially
the books,
cookbooks. They're hanging in there. But ebooks, Kindles, and iPads, and others really are impacting the book publishing world. And it's pretty easy for somebody with a book idea to write it and run it through some software and come out with a self-published electronic book that they can either sell themselves or sell through Amazon and other places, take all the middleman markup, and it actually can be as profitable or more profitable. I'm with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. That's one of the big publishers, but they take a big chunk of the money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's prestigious. I don't know. I mean, there are days when I wish I hadn't committed to do it. There are days when I'm thrilled with where it's going. I mean, I'm really jealous of guys like Dr. Barbecue, who just churns them out, and they're good. I mean, I'm not implying that they're less. Or Steve Raiklin. I mean, this guy is a real wordsmith. I mean, he's done fiction. I'm just not able to get it out that quickly.
We're talking about the book, right? Hey-o! Meathead, what about this hot weather cooking? I mean, we spent
Gene
whole...
Apicella, who's in the I can see him in the chat room tonight, wrote you, and you passed it on to me. Last time I was on, last Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month, last month, first Tuesday, we talked about cold weather cooking, and this SOB is in Port St. John, Florida.
Yeah.
Where they haven't seen a snowflake in 100 years. We actually warmed up to the 50s this week, and I was walking around. I actually grilled today, but we're going down to we're going to get 3 to 6 inches of snow again. But in any case, it's an interesting question, and that we can all deal with it. Are there allowances we need to make for hot weather? He says, my patio is in direct sunlight most of the day. In the summer, the dome thermostat on my kettle reads 150 degrees. The dome thermometer reads 150 degrees when I removed the grill cover, just from lying on a metal table. The probe from the ET732 reads 115 degrees lying on a metal table. Do these suggest that I should adjust cooking times or the cooking temps? Well, okay. So, the key concept here is, and this dovetails into what we're going to talk about next, and that is the concept of if you're looking, you ain't cooking, and is that true? What matters is the temperature of the air contacting the meat surface. So if it's 115 outside, then you're going to need less heat inside to raise the temperature. Let's say you're doing a pork butt at 225. You're going to need less fuel or less oxygen. Those are the two vital parts to get to target temp. But if you get to 225, the cooking time will be almost identical if it's 10 below or 110 degrees ambient temperature outside your cooker. As long as the air touching the meat is 225, nothing to worry about. The issue then is how do you adjust the temperature inside to allow for the hot temperature or the cold temperature outside? And since we talked about cold temperature last time, there are some things that you can do. First of all, the most obvious is reduce the fuel. Fewer charcoals. Cut back on oxygen. Now, you got to be careful. When you cut back on oxygen with charcoal, you can create smoldering, and you can get this very thick white or gray smoke, which doesn't have the best flavor. You want to go for a thinner or a bluer smoke. You don't want the fire gasping for air. So you want to, manage the two. And I always recommend that people practice a couple of times with no meat. Just, go out there on a hot day and just see how many coals it takes to hit your target temp, and fiddle with that and fiddle with the vents until you get it right. But keep in mind that the temperature in the dome up above the food is different than down on the cooking surface where the food is.
Right.
And that has a lot to do with where the coals are. If you're using a kettle and you've got all the coals pushed over to one side, your meat's closer to the coals. But up on the dome, it's getting all that direct sun. So you want to, I mean, those two probe thermometers like the Maverick ET732, which Gene has, is a good way to check dome temp versus meat surface temp. Do not believe the dial. The dial thermometers, those were invented in the 1870s or something, and they're just not as accurate as the digitals. So get to know your instrument, play with it in different temperatures, meter the temperature in different locations, so that you have an idea of what's going on, and play with the vents. Almost never do you want to close the top vents all the way.
No.
That will just trap a lot of smoke in there, and the fire will eventually start to choke and smolder because you're not getting air flow through. The top vent or the chimney pulls air in through the bottom.
Yep.
It's not the other way around. So that's crucial. Other things you can do is if you're using a water pan, throw ice in it. It'll melt eventually, but that water boils at 212, and it never goes above 212. One of the reasons, and that's another topic that if time permits we'll discuss today, is what do you do, what goes in the water pan. But if the water pan is at 212, then that's going to be a good regulator. It's going to hold the temperatures fairly steady, and it's going to hold the temperature down. So water pans are a good thing to use, and you can throw ice cubes in the water pan. You can use fewer coals, as I said, regulate the airflow. And if the temperature runs up a little bit, it's not going to be the end of the world. I mean, we all shoot for this low, slow 225, I think, is a magic number, and a lot of people agree. But, I mean, everybody out there, you've lost control on a pork butt, and it runs up to 300, and you know what? You can hardly tell.
Right.
I mean, a pork butt, it can take a beating. So it's not the end of the world if it gets a little out of control.
Let me interrupt just for a sec. I used to have a 42-inch close offset, and it stood directly in the sunlight for half the day, the hottest part of the day. Yeah. And when I wasn't paying attention, when I was getting to learn it, in the morning when I would start, it was a lot easier to keep temperature. But then when the sun would creep down on it, much like Eugene Eugene said, if I had the cover off on that thing and just let it sit in the sun, it would get up to 125, 130 degrees with not even being on. And then you would put a fire in it, and you would quickly eyeball the temperature of the pit, which is kind of how I would gauge that and velocity of smoke when I would put in another log. Yeah, well, guess what? All of a sudden, your log feed times were stretching out to an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And the next thing you know, your fire's out because it was consuming the fire, and you weren't paying any attention because all you were looking at was the temperature of the pit, and you weren't really looking at the firebox. So if you are operating a live fire in hot temperatures, be cognizant of the fact that, that overall cooking chamber temperature is probably going to stay up there. Yep. Don't forget about the fire, for crying out loud.
Well, one of the easiest things you can do, of course, is try to get it in shade. Yeah. I mean, shade temperature is a lot different than under direct sunlight. That direct sunlight is infrared heat, and infrared heat is the type of stuff you got when you're cooking right over hot flame, and that's the hottest heat there is. So if you can get it into the shade, you can do a lot of good. You can bring a household fan out and put a fan across it, move cool air across the surface. You can wet the surface. You can get a hose or a bucket of water and cool the surface of your grill, and that will cool down the interior. And you can paint your smoker white, the exterior. You want to get muffler paint or some high heat paint, but the stuff that won't chip and crack, and you got to be very careful about paint you put on the interior that make sure it's food safe. But white paint will reflect heat. Actually, I think white paint works better than silver paint. And so you just, you could paint it white, especially if you're living in Florida. Black is just going to become a heat sink and suck it up. So I don't know if I've solved your problem, Gene, but there are some things you can do. There's another thing that, it's cheating, and I'm going to get yelled at in the message board for this. But you can always start out at whatever temperature you can get outdoors, get your smoke on the meat, and then move it indoors.
Outrageous. Why would you even say that? By the way, folks, Meathead's last appearance tonight. Thank you for coming. Meathead, so look, the bottom line is he lives in really good weather, and a lot of us would be jealous to have such temperatures all year round. So hopefully we've helped him out there. But let's get into some of the main topics here tonight. And one of them is internet term that was really popular 4 or 5 years ago, which was if you're looking, you're not cooking. And I've heard anything from, well, if you even peek underneath, you're adding 15 or 20 minutes to your cook time, and boy, did that scare the shit out of everybody. So you've obviously put science to this. What have you found out?
And it's more than internet. I mean, let's see, I don't know if I can angle the camera over there. May not be. To my left, I've got a bookshelf with almost every barbecue book I can find. And so many of them say this too. It's a well-known, established shibboleth that if you are looking, you ain't cooking. Peeking is a terrible thing to do. And I've heard that 15-minute penalty every often.
Time. Right.
I asked, again, people who listen to me or read the website know that I work with a physicist, Dr. Greg Blonder, used to be head of research at Bell Labs, and I asked Dr. Blonder about this, and we talked about it, and the answers seemed logical to us, but he said, let me do some experiments, and he said about actually taking some measurements. Did you get the last-minute images I sent you, the pictures I sent? Oh, you did?
Of course.
There are two. One is a graph. Can you show the graph?
Yeah, here it is. Coal cooking whole chicken in Weber.
Nope, that's the next segment. There we go. Okay, so
what?
This is a charcoal Weber kettle.
Yeah.
Nope, go back.
Yeah, it's back up. You're on delay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. What he did was he got the temp up to 450 degrees approximately, and then he lifted the lid for a minute, and then he put the lid back down. And during that minute, the temperature plummeted to 150 degrees.
Right. Straight
off the bottom, and you can see it's on the left there. But it recovered very quickly. Now, you'll notice that throughout this chart, the green line declines ever so slightly.
Yep.
That's because coal is burning down, and it's producing less heat. It doesn't have anything to do with lifting the lid. The second time, he lifted it for 5 minutes. And you can see, plummeted right off the table, straight to the bottom. But again, it comes back fairly quickly. Now, some of this has to do with the fact that there is heat trapped in the lid. So if you lift the lid and then flip it over, you're going to let a lot of the heat escape. But if you lift the lid straight up, there's still a lot of heat in there. But even if you do flip it over, put it back down, that those coals or the gas grill, and there's a chart on the website for gas and pellet grills, there's so much heat being generated that it comes right back up in a hurry. So you are losing temperature, but you're not losing it a lot, and you're not losing it for long. On the pellet smoker, I didn't send Greg the chart because I can just tell you about it. The pellet smoker, it recovered, and it actually overshot. It actually went up higher than the starting temperature because you remember pellet grills have a thermostat.
Yep.
So they detect the fact the temperature has dropped, got to crank up the heat so it pumps more air and pellets in there. And then the gas grill, it's not got a thermostat, but it's got a constant flow of fuel, so the temperature shot back up there and leveled off pretty quickly also. Now, the interesting thing is he's also put probes. The green line is the probe of the air temp, but there's a probe on the surface of the meat and then a probe in the center of the meat. The surface of the meat's the red line, and the center of the meat's the blue line. And in case you're not able to see this or you're listening in to the podcast, you can see that they continue to climb pretty steadily. The surface of the meat does respond ever so slightly to the air temp dipping when he lifts the lid, but not a lot, because meat is mostly water, 75%, 65% water, and a little fat, and that really is a good holder of temperature, or it resists rapid change. And down in the center, the blue line, it doesn't even notice.
No.
And that's where we're watching the temperature the most. It doesn't even notice what's happening on the surface. And there's a chicken, a whole chicken. So he's there, got the probe in the chicken breast. So the blue line is probably no more than an inch from the surface. So remember, the key is, and people who've listened hear me say this often enough, but it's such a core concept in outdoor cooking, in indoor cooking too, is that the hot air heats the surface of the food. But the surface of the food is what cooks the interior of the food. So even when you turn the air off, open it up, the hot heat in the surface continues to work its way towards the center. It'll also escape, but it continues to work its way to the center and continues to cook, and that's carryover cooking. So the result is, as we see here, is that it has almost no noticeable impact on the temperature of the center. Now, we've actually carried out, I did the math part of it, which was really scary. On my website, on my article about looking and cooking, you can see there's I did some equations, and we calculated roughly how much time it would add to a long brisket cook. And it does add maybe 30 minutes. It's not a huge amount of time. It's not nearly 15 minutes for every time you look. And that means you can open the lid and spritz. You can open the lid and stab it with an instant read thermometer. And if you're just curious, you can open a lid and peek or steal a nosh, and you're not really going to pay a penalty for it. So, we did this research last summer. I asked him last month, do it again in February. Tell me what it does in February. And there was a difference. He picked a really cold February day. But not much. But the big difference was in the 5-minute lid removal, and nobody takes the lid off for 5 minutes.
No.
But the wind was cold and strong enough that it really chilled the exterior, and so the interior did respond ever so slightly, but not a lot. So I think that the idea that, put the lid down, you're going to ruin the food. It's not going to hurt a darn thing. Peek if you want. And we know also, thanks to Dr. Blonder's research, that moisture on the surface of the meat attracts smoke. So if you're looking to get smoky, you can open the lid, hit it with a spritz. Now remember that spritz is going to cool the surface. So that will affect the cooking temperature far greater than lifting the lid. Spritzing. So you've got a whole lot of physics going on here.
No doubt about it. Meathead joining us here on the show. Meathead, go ahead and take a quick break here while we talk about our good friends over in Warminster, Pennsylvania, the Barbecue Guru, makers of automatic pit temperature control technology. That's right. If you're thinking about getting something like this, maybe wives or girlfriends for your husband or boyfriend, same-sex lover, if they're into barbecue for automatic pit temperature control, why not take a look at the people that created the technology? Now, if you're not familiar with how these little beauties work, I don't like to talk about minute details, but imagine a product that allows you to set your pit temperature in one set. It keeps it running at that set temperature all the way through the cook. Sounds too good to be true. It's not. This is real life. You can take advantage of this technology today. So if you're a busy working professional like me, or perhaps you're constantly on the run with kids, doing errands, quite frankly, you just don't have the time to sit around and tend these pit temperatures. I understand. The Guru allows you to throw on a pork butt or a brisket or a couple slabs of ribs. You're off to do whatever it is you need to get done. And the Guru maintains the pit temperature you set it at. Currently, there's a number of different models to choose from. Two of the most popular, the one that I call the easiest point of entry into automatic pit temperature control device kingdoms, the Party Q at $129, in the middle of getting a facelift that we'll hear about from Bob Trudnick in a couple weeks. Again, this fits on a majority of cookers, $10 extra for the ceramic or the Kamado-style cookers, but even for $139, it's a deal. It's a self-contained unit. It runs on AA batteries. I affectionately refer to it as the hooker of automatic pit temperature control devices because it goes from cooker to cooker, and it will work flawlessly. Also, if you're a tech nerd, if you like the tablet connections, the smartphone connections, all that stuff, CyberQ Wi-Fi, right up your alley. Burning up the competition market, burning up a lot of the backyards as well. And if you're in the market for a cooker, the Onyx oven is definitely where you want to be at. Holds a really good amount of meat, holds half and full pans for food service, seamlessly working with the Barbecue Guru automatic pit temperature control devices as well. So do yourself a favor, head on over to the website, thebbqguru.com. Check out their products. If you have any questions about what to order, call them directly. 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. They'll make sure you're outfitted with exactly what you need to get you up and running right out of the box. Again, the number 800-288-GURU or the website, thebbqguru.com, the Barbecue Guru, a breakthrough in barbecue technology. All right, we're back with the Meathead right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back. I don't know about anybody else, but my chat room is gonzo. So, yeah. What? You can't see me? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Lost you. I've lost the chat room.
Yeah, it's gone. It's out of here. All right, now let me point one thing out here for the people that were enjoying the graph and everything that you were showing, especially if you're using the charcoal cooker, and you mentioned the overshoot on the pellet grill, which I think is by design because of the thermostat. But when you are doing the charcoal stuff, remember, folks, when the lid is off, and you alluded to it briefly there for a second, when the lid is off, if you're trapping heat in the dome or whatever, huge amount of oxygen hitting the coals, spiking. So why would it take longer to get back up to temperature? You put the lid on, that you have a fire that was way hotter than it was before you took the lid off.
Right, absolutely. It's like putting bellows onto that stuff. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely. Good point.
All right, so that's if you're looking, you're not cooking. Now, if you have the bullet-style smokers, and, when I had that close, as I had mentioned, because it wasn't, traditionally long like a lot of these other cookers were, I had the baffle, the heat baffle, or the intake from the firebox that would run across a cooking chamber. And a lot of people said, hey, you might want to think about sticking a pan of water right close to that, blah, blah, blah. So water pan, whether it's an offset, whether it is a bullet-style smoker like you'd find in the Weber Smoky Mountains and the like, a lot of people want to get cute. A lot of people want to put beer and wine and shallots and all this other, black truffle butter and whatever else. So what are we talking about when it comes to putting water in the water pan? I mean, is it just that easy?
Well, all right. Let's go back and define some terms, because there's two types of pans. And it's a subtle difference, but it's a difference.
Yeah.
There's the drip pan and the water pan. Now, if you're doing a roast or a turkey or something, unfortunately, I've lost video here, but the other picture I sent was
turkey gravy.
A picture of my turkey pan.
Oh.
I have a water pan under it, but it's not just a water pan. It's got onion and carrot and celery and white wine and herbs. And what I'm doing is I'm using it to catch drips, and I'm making a turkey stock. It's like a soup, and that becomes the base for my gravy. And I don't use flour in the gravy. I keep it thin. It's like a really great turkey stock, and that's my gravy. But that's not adding any flavor to the meat. Flavor compounds in a liquid, like wine or beer, are measured in parts per billion. I mean, wine, as strong a flavor it is, it's like 98. Well, all right, take away the alcohol, which is 14%, we'll say roughly. 1 or 2% of what's left are flavor compounds. All the rest is just water. So there's not much in the way of flavor compounds. It's infinitesimally small compared to the flavor that's in the meat and in the rub and in the sauce. If you're going to put herbs in the water pan, put them on the meat. There's whatever flavor is going to be extracted from the herbs into the water and then evaporate and strike the surface is minuscule. the smoke flavor is stronger, and certainly your rub and your sauce. So anything you put in the water pan other than water is a waste of money. Don't put beer in there. Drink the beer. Don't put wine in there. Drink the wine. Don't waste your spices in there. Put them on the food itself. You're just not generating any flavor of any consequence. It's just a waste of money. So, but the key of the water pan is the water pan does serve the thermal function that we talked about earlier. It sticks at 212. So it helps maintain even steady temperature. It keeps the temperature down. That water will not go above 212. Probably everybody in the audience knows this, but just a fact of physics. If you take a pan of water, put it on a burner, turn the burner halfway up, it starts to boil, it hits 212, and the water is boiling and steam is coming off.
Yep. Turn
Turn the burner to full, and it doesn't go above 212. Even though you're putting more energy onto the pan.
Right.
The water will not boil, and it won't get any higher than 212 until the water boils off. Water will just stick at 212. And that's one of the reasons why wetting your wood chips is silly, because the wood chips will go up to 212, the water will steam off, and then it will rise up to about 275, 300, where it will start to smoke and smolder. But it can't get there until it gets past the water boiling temperature of 212. But I'm digressing. Which I've never done before.
Never.
But in any case, the water pan serves a lot of functions. It can absorb and stabilize heat. Among other things, it can block the flame and flare-ups that can occur.
Yeah.
It evens out hot spots. It can create water vapor. And when water vapor mixes with smoke, it does create some interesting compounds, like the nitrogen compounds, the nitrous oxide, and other compounds that land on the surface of the meat that helps form smoke rings. Now, I had a discussion with somebody on my Facebook page the other day who swore that he couldn't get a smoke ring when he used a water pan, but when he put sand in the water pan, he got a better smoke ring.
Wow.
And I don't understand why, because it should go the other way. You should get a better smoke. I wish I could see the chat room and hear what these guys have to say, but you should get a better smoke ring with water than you would with but the other thing is, if you put sand or ceramic, as some people like to do over on the Weber Smoky Mountain message boards, that will go way above 212. I mean, sand will heat up really high. That's silicon. It'll get really hot. So it's not giving you the thermal control. It does become a thermal mass, but it can get out, right on up. The moisture that comes out of that water pan will create humidity in the atmosphere, which will moisten the surface of the meat, which helps smoke to stick. It also cools the surface of the meat, which helps it cook more slowly. Slow cooking is good, melts connective tissue, and it reduces evaporation from the meat, so the meat will stay a little moister. So I'm a big advocate of water pans, even on a gas grill, if you're adapting it to low and slow cooking, or a charcoal grill. Or I just think that water pans add a lot to the cooking process.
Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show. AmazingRibs.com is the website if you want to check it out and see all the great information there. What was there was one other thing that I was going to ask you about in regards to water pan. There's always talk about the water pan adding, or perhaps being the missing link to having a succulent brisket, or adding all of this great moisture to chicken or ribs or whatever. And I say that, and I believe we recently had a similar quick topic debate on this, that if you think that it is the solution, that you are actually adding this abundant amount of humidity into your cooker, you're wrong, because you're not rapidly boiling the water. I mean, there obviously is it's steaming, so there's probably some type of moisture that's going in there. But if you could speak on that just a little bit, you're not...
well, you've hit it.
You're not infusing.
There's not much to add. The other thing is that the air turnover in a typical charcoal grill, it's shocking how much the air turns over. You can get 10 turnovers per minute. So there's a lot of air moving through there. In order to get the humidity a lot higher, you'd have to put you'd have to start spraying a mist in there. And actually, I've seen some people experiment. When they make French baguettes, they often put a mist into the air to help create the crust on a baguette. I've never seen that done in a smoker, but I've heard people toy with the idea. It is not the be-all, end-all solution, but a lot of smokers do it. Your backwoods smokers almost all have water pans. I just recently saw Myron Mixon's new product line. They're huge on water pans.
Self-filling or something like that too,
Pardon
right?
me?
It's got a huge tank off to the side, so as it actually burns off in the cooker, it actually fills all up on its own.
What's the name? Meadow Creek has a new one that's like a refrigerator, and it has a 5-gallon water carboy on the side that feeds the water. Now, I was talking with Blonder about this, and he had a really interesting suggestion. He said, if you really want to put more moisture in the air, put lava rocks in the water pan with the water and make sure they're above the surface, because lava rocks are like sponges and they've just got a ton of surface area. If it's just a flat water pan, you've got this, 20 inches of water on a Weber Smoky Mountain diameter. But if you put lava rocks, make little mountain ranges sticking out of the water, now you vastly increase the surface area, and they will wick the water up, so it would put a lot more water into the air. So that's an interesting idea if you really want to experiment with adding more moisture to the atmosphere. Another trick, a lot of people have figured this out. You don't need me to tell you this. Line your water pan with foil or use a disposable pan, because water pans, once they get full of dripping and grease and stuff, they're a pain to clean up. I will often take my water pan and mix it with the dead ash. I've got like a little garbage can this is miniature garbage can, and I mix the ash and the water pan drippings together and dump them in a plastic bag and throw them out. Don't dump them on the lawn. I made that mistake years ago when I was just getting started. Oh boy, did my dog smell bad for a few days. But I like water pans. I think they're a good idea.
I completely agree, and I used to be the guy that did go from water originally, and because I was like, I was started out doing a lot of overnight cooks with pork butts when I first got in the Weber Smoky Mountain, and this was a warmer time during the season, and I would run it a little bit hot as it was breaking in, so I found myself having to get up in the middle of the night to refill the water pan. And I was like, man, this sucks. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm refilling the water pan with an old wine bottle that would fit in through the little trapdoor. And so I started using sand. And then, of course, I noticed, as you had mentioned, that it was almost the flip-flop, where normally the grate by the water pan would be at a less temperature than the one closer to the dome. Well, now it had flip-flopped. The one that was closest to the sand was cooking hotter than the one on the that was closer to the dome. So you're doing a different flip for different reasons. But it stopped me from having to get up in the middle of the night to refill the water. But then, in the end, I went back because the temperature consistency or an integrity throughout the cook was much better with water than anything else.
I've seen guys rig things like a jug of water. You set a tube into the side. I got to drill a hole in your Weber Smoky Mountain or whatever and you run a tube in there and you set it at the water surface level, and you put the water in there, and it'll automatically fill itself. But that seems like an awful lot of effort. I don't know if I'm going to do an all-night cook. Well, first of all, I'm going to use something like a pellet smoker.
Indeed.
But if I'm going to do an all-night cook with a charcoal smoker or something, I gotta look at my food. I gotta peek. I gotta look at my meat. I gotta go out and I gotta check my charcoal. I don't know. It's still a hands-on process for me. I know I can walk away and leave it, but I don't know. That's half the fun.
What fun is that? That's right.
Smelling and touching and tasting and snapping off a little bit of that bark when nobody's looking.
That's right. cooks candy. Meathead Goldwyn has talked about his book that will never end. He's talked about hot weather cooking, and if you're looking, you're not cooking, then, of course, lastly, we've talked about the water pan. You can find him at AmazingRibs.com, and on this show, the second Tuesday of every month, Meathead, as always, the pleasure was yours.
It really was, Greg. Always fun. Take care, buddy. Thank you.
Take care. There he is, Meathead Goldwyn. AmazingRibs.com. And that's the place you want to go. Also, aside from being on the show, he is very accessible. So if you have questions you want to ask him, you can email him, and he will certainly be more than happy to take your questions right there on the website, reply to threads. Very active there. I mean, that's the job. That's what he do. Like a lot of us in this industry would like to say that, we do it full time. He does it full time. He's got people on retainer. Before we wrap up the first hour, we will talk about Butcher Barbecue. Another great product is going to be coming out with Butcher Barbecue. I just saw it on their Facebook. This thing, you might think to yourself conceptually, it's not going to revolutionize the injection industry. However, you know what? It just might. And it's one of those simple things that is going to make a huge impression. And here's what I'm talking about. Butcher Barbecue, obviously well known for the injections, but maybe you travel, maybe you cater and you're injecting, or obviously if you're on the competition trail, you know damn well you're injecting, or you're not winning. You're not recouping your expense. He's made or found a maker of, it looks like a big plastic shaker jar. It's got Butcher Barbecue logo on. And it's got the lines marked for here's where you want to fill your liquid up for this amount and that amount. You pour your injection in, you shake it up, and boom, you got a traveling injection shaker bottle. Again, doesn't seem like that's a game changer, but when you really think about it, when you go to contests, when you go to large catered events, do you see somebody that has a specific bottle that's already like your measuring cup is in there as well? I thought, here's this Dave Bosk going to change it up again. Not only was he doing the trade-in program where you could send in somebody else's commercially made injection to him and he would give you back whatever that amount was in return, whether it be the pork, the prime, the beef, or the bird booster injections. Then he was, making sauce. He was making rubs. It started out as the injections. I mean, he's continually trying to change the game. And now with this new injection bottle, I'm sure there's a better term for that, but I want to try and make sure that I can explain it to you as simply as possible. So now you can wash it, you can bring it to the competitions with you, you set it on the table, pour the injection in, fill it up with water. It tells you if you want this much, pour it here, shake it up, stick your injection needle in there, and boom, you are ready to rock and roll. And then once you're done with it, stick it in the bag, take it home, wash it up, and be ready to go the next time. Again, it's butcherbbq.com. That's butcherbbq.com. Again, shipping-wise, you're not breaking the bank. Anything at $55 ships at $8.50, between $55 and $200 at $9.75, and anything over $200 ships exactly for free after tax. It's butcherbbq.com. That's butcherbbq.com. Always trust your butcher. We are back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We will be right back. Hang on.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, we're back. You recall a couple weeks ago, I contracted a fella to make a cartoon picture of me looking like this. Watch out. And I showed you one that I had, and I didn't think it looked very good. I thought maybe I was taken for $5. So I redid it. And I want to, I need to build a little, so, that's me with a beard. You've seen me with a beard before. So here is the original And then here's what the new one looks like. I think it's a winner. Love it. Here's the original. And here is the drawing. Here is the original. And here is the drawing. I think overall for $5, that's a winner right there. Absolutely.
I think it's one of the $5 best I've ever spent, really.
I don't know if we're back up and running or not at the moment, but I know we're having some small issues over on the at least the chat room side of the Outdoor Cooking channel. We're broadcasting live and direct right here on the show, so our feed is fine. If you are interested in still listening to the show live without any video, you can run over to the bbqcentralshow.com and click on the audio. We're more than happy to have you over there, clicking in and listening to it there as well. I'm just visiting the Outdoor Cooking channel right now, and it looks like we're still having some chat room issues. But nevertheless, enjoy the show how it was meant to be back in the day. All radio, all the time. You do it. You'll be happy that you did it, and you know you will. 216-220-0966 is the new number. Again, 216-220-0966. Make a note of that number. And, of course, you can email 877-448... No. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. I'm just getting a word in here from Kevin Bevington. Don't mean to interrupt, but obviously the chat room is down. That's right. Stream is fine, though. All right. So you got the video. Stay there. Chat amongst yourselves. We're going to step away here briefly and reload for the second hour. Maybe recap a little bit of the first hour. We'll see how it goes. Again, if you want to jump in, new number 216-220-0966. And you can also email the show, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. We'll be back at the top of the hour. Stick around. We'll be right back. Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan. So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shake a face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour, ladies and gentlemen. Don G writing in. FYI, you still have the 877 number on the scroll on the video. Yeah, no kidding. Don, it takes a little time to get everything readjusted. I have my finger on the pulse of exactly what is wrong with the show all the time. Don't even think about it. Denver Cavins of Inertia Media is working up on a new lower one-third, whatever they call it. All right, here we go. Do I want to take this phone call? Do I want to take this? Yeah, why not? Area code 208, you're on the air.
Greg, what are you doing? It's your mother calling.
Hi, Mom.
What are you doing?
I'm just hosting a show. What are you doing, Mom? How's Dad?
Just making some cookies.
He is? Outstanding. So what can I do for you tonight? Oh, Mom's gone.
Get that big stuff out of here.
All right. Mom's calling in. Get an email from Jean Apicea. Thanks for addressing hot weather cooking. I recently brought a large patio umbrella to provide some shade. I'll see later in the spring, summer whether or not it makes a difference. By the way, really appreciate the SOB reference. I've been called worse, but I consider it in jest. Of course. Should always consider it in jest. Trust me, if I'm not ingesting, you're going to know about it, mister. Still to come on the show tonight, Stuart Powell from Cook Shack and Dennis May from Smokin in the Dark. So lock in. On the show next week, maybe you've heard of him. So here's what happens. First Tuesday of every month, Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue, for Ask Dr. Barbecue. Second Tuesday of every month, Meathead Goldwyn. And now the third Tuesday of every month, the icon of the industry, Stephen Reichlin, will be joining us. So next week and the third Tuesday of every month ongoing from, Barbecue Bible, so forth. Also, a guy, a lot of opinions, a lot of products, great products, a lot of great rubs. And a lot of opinions in the industry. Sterling Ball from Big Papa Smokers will be in. We'll be talking a little bit about the guinea pig. He's going to be competing in an event this coming weekend as well. If you didn't know, the 2014 Sam's Club Series is well underway, rolled into Baton Rouge, Louisiana this past weekend. This was a local event qualifier, seeing the top 6 teams move on to the Midwest City, Oklahoma Regional Final, which will take place on September 20th, and the top 6 teams moving on to that event. Winner, grand champion, soon to appear in about 30 minutes from now. Smokin in the Dark. And reserve grand champion, this guy's still around and winning quite a bit, Mike Davis, Laudable Barbecue. And the rest of your 4 that are moving on, Incognito Cookers, CNB Barbecue, Bayou Boogie Barbecue, and rounding out the top 6, Habitual Smokers moving on. So congratulations to those teams that will be moving on to the regional final, which takes place in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Notoriously one of the hardest regional finals, to get into and then obviously move on to the finals from. Next Sam's Club event this coming weekend, March 15th in Fort Worth, Texas. So good luck to all the teams competing down in Fort Worth. I'm going to get off the board here just a little bit because I've been hearing more and more about this over the last couple days, and quite frankly, I'm horrified with the fact that there's this company, you've probably seen them, especially if you like gummy bears, Haribo. Hair, like hair, and then bow, Haribo. They make sugar-free gummy bears. Now, evidently, from the research that I've been doing and from some of these other shows that I've been hearing this covered on, it's sweeping the internet. The sugar-free ones might not even be available here in the United States. That's what I'm talking about. So you might have to get on. Well, I found out about it on Amazon. I was reading reviews. I'm going to be reading you a review here that you will not believe. You know, the one thing that you hear about sugar-free anything is, well, it doesn't taste as good, or the taste sucks, or it's obviously different than from the original version. So why would you want to put yourself through that misery? But evidently, the Haribo sugar-free gummy bears, and I love a good gummy bear, I love the white ones, are taste-wise just as good or better than the regular ones. Except buyer beware, and by beware, I mean head for the hills. Your butthole will thank me for it in the morning. And here, this is just one man's review of what is evidently one of the worst things you can put in your body, this Haribo sugar-free gummy bear. You know, it's like anything. People, it's not going to happen to me, or I'll take that challenge, and you think it comes in 5-pound bags or whatever. This is a direct review coming from the Amazon. Amazon.com, by the way. And it reads a little something like this, and pardon me if I start laughing my ass off during the middle. Oh, man. Words cannot express what happened to me after eating these. The Gummy Bear Cleanse. If you are someone that can tolerate the sugar substitute, enjoy. If you're like the dozens of people that tried my order, run. First of all, for taste, I would rate these 5 out of 5. So good. Soft, true to taste, fruit flavors like sugar variety. I was a happy camper. But, or should I say, B-U-T-T. Not long after eating about 20 of these, all hell broke loose. I had a gastrointestinal experience like nothing I've ever imagined. Cramps, sweating, bloating beyond my worst nightmare. I've had food poisoning from some bad shellfish, and that was almost like a skip in the park compared to what was going on inside of me. Then came the flatulence. Heavens to Murgatroyd. The sounds like trumpets calling the demons back to hell. The stench like 1,000 rotten corpses vomited. I couldn't stand to stay in one room for fear of succumbing to my own orders. But wait, there's more. What came out of me felt like someone tried to funnel Niagara Falls through a coffee straw. I swear my sphincter was screaming. It felt like my delicate starfish was gaping maw projectile vomit. Vomiting a torrential flood of toxic waste. 100% liquid, flammable liquid, napalm. It was actually a bit humorous for just a nanosecond, as it was just beyond anything I could imagine possible. And it went on for hours. I felt violated when it was over, which I think might have been sometime in the early morning the next day. There was stuff coming out of me that I ate from my wedding in 2005. I had 5 pounds of these innocent-looking, delicious-tasting hell bears. So I told a friend about what happened to me, thinking it had to be some type of sensitivity I had to the sugar substitute. And in spite of my warnings and graphic descriptions, she decided to take her chances and took them all off of my hands. Silly woman. All the same for her, and a cell phone call from her while on the toilet, because you kind of end up living in the bathroom for a spell, telling me she really wished she had listened to me, and I think she was crying. Her sister was skeptical and succumbed to the same fate. She took them since there was still 99% of the 5-pound bag left. She works construction company, and builders, roofers, house painters, landscapers, lots of people who generally have limited access to toilets on a given day. I can't even imagine what all those poor men and women pooped that day. I keep envisioning men on roofs crossing their legs and trying to decide if they can make it down the ladder or if they should just jump. That's the better idea. Just jump. If you order these, best of luck to you, and please don't post a video review of the aftershocks. No kidding. Look, if I've warned you once, I've warned you twice. Be wary of the sugar substitutes that people are putting in to make it sugar-free. It might taste good, but it also might lubricate the innards of your person, and you are going to be in a terrible way, evidently for hours. This person just ate 20 of them. And there are review upon review upon review of the Haribo sugar-free gummy bear. And there's videos as well. Just be forewarned that if anybody shows up on your doorstep, I'm doing my public service to you today. Don't be foolish. Don't eat the sugar-free Haribo gummy bears. And if you're going to do it, record it all, because I want to play it here on this show, because I warned you not to do it. All right, Stuart Powell coming up out of the break. Folks, if you hate to stand near the grill waiting for your food, let iGrill take care of it. The iGrill 2, the iGrill Mini Bluetooth grilling thermometers work with your iOS device to let you know when your food is perfectly cooked from up to 150 feet away. They magnetically mount to your grill or smoker and come packaged with pretty awesome features like graphing, minimum and maximum temperature settings, and custom alarms. The powerful yet compact single-probe iGrill Mini comes complete with proximity wake-up and LED temperature indicator that goes through a range of colors based on doneness. Red lets you know that your food has reached its target temperature, while green, yellow, and orange show its progress. Get your own iGrill Mini for $39.99 at iDevicesinc.com. That's the letter I, devices, and then INC, iDevicesinc.com, and select the Lowe's stores. Then, of course, the iGrill 2 Bigger and Badder, a fully illuminated display, and 4 probes for maximum grilling and temperature tracking. Shipping in May, so just over a month from now. Pre-order your iGrill 2 for $99.99. Get free shipping on your orders of $50 or more. Again, that website, iDevicesinc.com. That's the letter I, devices, and then INC, iDevicesinc.com. And don't forget to follow iGrill on Facebook for exclusive offers. And you can also get the barbecue updates there as well. So again, pricing on the iGrill Mini, $39.99, iDevicesinc.com. Or if you're lucky enough at select Lowe's stores, branching out into the big retail area. And then the iGrill 2, which is on pre-order right now. So it's shipping month after next. It's almost, we're at the middle of March now. So this one will ship out in May, pre-orders. iGrill 2 for $99.99. Again, the same website, iDevices Inc. That's the letter I, devices, INC, iDevicesinc.com. Get over there, spend $50 or more, and it ships for free. Make the jump. Save on the ship. We are back with President and CEO of Cook Shack, Stuart Powell, right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. 216-220-0966. Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. My mom just texted me, wanted to know who that imposter was. I don't know. Rarely do I take the phone call out of the blue, right? Well, rarely do I get a phone call out of the blue. So, top of the hour, it's a good time to lob a phone call in if you ever want to get on the air. Blew up in my face. This is what happens on live radio. Of the internet kind. You have some guy saying it's my mom. I mean, obviously it wasn't my mom. I think I know what my mom sounds like. All right, perhaps you're in the market for a cooker. Not sure if you want a pellet cooker or an electric cooker. No worries. My next guest offers the best of both on the market today. Let's go ahead and race over to the hotline and welcome back President and CEO of Cook Shack, Stuart Powell, joining me here. Stuart, how are you, bud?
Greg, I'm doing great. How are you tonight?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous, Stuart. Appreciate you asking and taking the time out here. I guess before we get into some of the cookers and some of the things you're going to be up to here shortly, again, maybe a quick recap on your background and how you kind of got involved with Cook Shack.
Sure. My background's actually in engineering. I moved to Ponca City in 1980 to be a engineer for Conoco.
Hey, Stuart, are you getting feedback on your end?
I am getting feedback.
Let me call you right back.
Okay.
All right. See, I'm getting wise to it, see? Yeah, I'm getting wise to it. You're not going to fool me with your talking. It happens. It's telephony. How's that, Stuart? A little better than that?
That's better.
All right.
Well, no, I'm still getting feedback.
Are you really?
Yeah.
All right. Hold on one second. I'll try one more time.
Okay.
Weird. Usually when you stop the first time, you call back the first time. Call back the first time? Yeah. Goes away. All right. We'll see. I'll leave the ringer on this time for non-professional reasons. Fingers crossed that the echo goes away. Jeez, oh, Pete.
All right, I'm back with you.
All right, a little better on the echo there?
That's better.
All
yeah,
right.
That's much better.
All right, so engineering, you moved to Ponca City.
So I moved to Ponca City and was worked for Conoco for a little bit, and then went to work for a central vacuum manufacturer who their distributor for the state of Oklahoma was related to the people at Cook Shack that owned Cook Shack at the time. And so that's how I got introduced. And, the parents that founded cook shack passed away in 1985 in a boating accident. And so then in 1991, the kids that inherited the business hired me to manage it, and been there ever since, and own a piece of it now.
Hey, that's the way to do. Get in there, and now you're owning a piece of it, and be able to get those views and how you want to press the company forward. How active are the other two still in it? I mean, you pretty much
they're not active at all now.
Oh, yeah. Just collecting big fat checks, right?
Well, I hope so. That's the goal.
No doubt about it. Stuart Powell joining me here on the show. The website, by the way, if you want to check it out here while we're talking, cookshack.com. Obviously, the competition season starts up for you this coming weekend in Miami, Oklahoma at the Smokin at the Run barbecue shootout. Look, I saw you there last year as I was hosting it, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to make it out there again this year. But this...
Well, we'll miss you.
Yeah, I'm going to be missed for sure, and I'm going to miss everybody. Because this thing is like changed. Just in a 12-month span, you've gone from, I think it was about 55 teams last year, to roughly almost double the amount of teams. There's going to be double the amount of contests over the course of the weekend with 2 or maybe even 3 contests. This thing has just grown in seismic and gargantuan proportions just in 1 year. How are you feeling about going into this event?
Well, I was on a conference call this evening with I'm on the board of the Oklahoma Barbecue Society, and I learned a couple of the big name cooks aren't going to be there, so I feel better already.
When you see a fleet of 85, 83 teams that are going to be at a competition, regardless if it's something that might be kind of more technically in the backyard or if you're having to travel quite a bit of ways to get there, do you get in a crapshoot frame of mind versus something that would be more of a 30 to 35 team competition when you have something that large?
Yes, definitely. I mean, one of the things I liked about what David was doing with his contest this year is that he's splitting it into 2 contests the first day, and so you're going to have a little bit of a smaller event, which is always kind of nice. And then the second day will be big contest, and definitely look at those as a bit of a crapshoot. We always I actually really like the new judging system, I guess you would call it, that KCBS is using, where at the end of the day you get a sheet that tells you how you did on each table that you hit with your food. And I really like that because it's kind of nice to go back and say, okay, compared to the stuff that the judges were eating, was mine, the top of the table or the bottom of the table. So I always enjoy that more than I did the old way, where you just got a score and you wonder what happened on that table.
Yeah, no kidding. Stuart Powell is my guest, President and CEO of Cook Shack. Stuart, do you have any idea what percentage of cooks use the FE cooker out there right now?
It's really hard to say. This year at the American Royal, which of course was about 550 teams, we just, wandering through and counting, figured out that about 20% of that group was cooking on our equipment. So I would guess we're at, in that 10 to 15% range.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. Is it good enough for Cook Shack to be competing at an event regardless of finish, just for like visibility and marketing aspects? Or, when you get out there, is it not really about that part of business? Is it about going out, competing, and trying to win first? And then, by the way, it's a great exposure because you're with Cook Shack and you're cooking with the stuff that you actually sell.
I always prefer to see one of my customers win. It always looks better. But I mean, my daughter and I cook as a cooking team, and we're both definitely competitors. I mean, we walk out there wanting to win. Fast Eddie always tells me that I'll never win as long as I continue to try to talk to people about smokers.
Well, it's got to be like a tricky thing. I remember having a conversation with Eddie at one point years ago, and he said, when I decided to get out of competing and getting into pit building, I had to kind of let go of a portion of me that said, I want to win at any cost, and I have to get over the fact that I'm going to build a cooker, somebody else is going to use it, and they're probably going to beat me at some point. I mean, you run into a similar situation. You're selling cookers that other teams use, and they could beat you any given situation, any given weekend with your own cooker.
Sure, absolutely. And, we know, my daughter and I know as we walk out there that we're we're not cooking, 30 events a year. We cook about 10 to 12 events a year, and it's hard to compete against the guys that are cooking, 30 plus events a year. They just on top of their game. We view this contest this weekend as one where we'll hopefully go knock off the rough edges, because we haven't competed since the American Royal. So,
Stuart, why do you think the FE cooker has really become a go-to pit for both the new and the experienced teams alike on that competition circuit?
Well, I think two big reasons. One is consistency. And, it's the same reason a restaurant buys an FE, is that they get the same food every time they cook in it. And, when you're competition cooking and there are enough variables in the meat, and then you throw in the variable, if you're cooking on a stick burner, of where's that piece of wood in its lifespan, how much creosote's left in it, how dry is it, how quick is it going to burn, how much is the relative humidity going to affect what I'm doing today. All those equations we take out of there, so we give them a very consistent flavor profile. So that's one big key. The other one that I think is huge is that you can get some rest. And there's a lot of, there's stick burners out there that will let you cook overnight, and you don't have to stay up and babysit it the whole time. But most of them, you gotta stay on top of a little more than that. And so, to be able to put your food in and get some rest, to me, is huge, because I believe the next morning, I'm on top of my game. And some of the guys that have been up all night, trying to battle the fire aren't. So,
Stuart Powell joining me here on the show, cookshack.com, the website. Stuart, one of the things I was reading about, and I don't know if this is like a new addition or an option, but it was pretty fascinating to me. It was this thing called the log burner option that I was reading about on the website. This is something that sounds pretty interesting. What can you tell me about it?
Well, what we get out of people, if you ever have somebody that complains about the flavor they get out of an FE, it's always that. But what they always say is they don't get enough smoke flavor. But what they're really missing in that flavor profile that you get out of a stick burner is the creosote taste. Okay, and nobody really wants to admit that, because that doesn't sound, real appetizing. But if you look at burning wood, a log has X amount of creosote in it, and it's why most of the guys that are cooking on stick burners are going to wrap that meat up at some point in time, is to keep that flavor from overpowering, the meat that they're cooking. In a pellet cooker, you can't get that creosote taste, because that's basically taken out of the wood as it's processed down to sawdust. And so you never get that creosote taste. So I had guys that were saying, man, we really need some of that kind of bite that you get from that creosote. And so basically came up with a way to be able to attach it's nothing more than just a little plate that goes on the end of the fire pot, that they can then stick, a small log chunk of wood. Some guys put more pellets on there, whatever they want to create more flavor.
It seems like would it be counterproductive to put more pellets on there, or would you want to put a piece of wood on there to get that creosote flavor that, I can't believe I'm saying that, but if that's what people are looking for, you'd want to probably put a log on there, right?
Yeah, to me, it makes more sense to put a log on there. There are some people, that are doing what a lot of guys call smoke bombs. They put more pellets into something to get them to smolder. Me personally, I can't see a whole lot more flavor that they're getting there. I mean, I've tasted that food. I've tried it. I've played with it. I don't see that you get much more flavor out of that. But I can get a huge amount of flavor if I stick a piece of green hickory wood on that log burner.
Yeah. We talk about injecting a lot on the show because, a lot of teams are doing it. The backyard guys and gals can inject as well. Same goes for, FE cookers too. You don't have to be a competition guy or girl to really reap the rewards of this cooker, right? I mean, you can get just the same type of a product if you're just a backyard guy just like me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, anybody can get that same flavor, consistently every time. And what I like about the FE is that you don't ever get that over smoked flavor. And before my days at Cook Shack, I had a Weber kettle, and I can remember doing some turkeys that were black and didn't taste very good. You'll never get that out of an FE. You always get a great, robust smoke flavor, but not that overpowering. And I just like to call it creosote taste.
And I guess it's fair. I mean, obviously, Cook Shack is well known for the FE line of cookers, but there's other residential pellet cookers that have been released into the market from Cook Shack as well. Maybe you could bring us up to speed on those.
Sure. We have what we call our PG line, and those are two pellet grills. One, the PG 500, is a kind of our entry level pellet grill. It's a non-insulated cabinet, but it gives you all the advantages of cooking over pellets. What we have really done different, what we patented in that system, was an airflow process that allows us to direct cook over the flame. So if you want to sear a steak, I can be at 700-800 degrees on top of our grate searing a steak. The other side, then you're offset cooking, and you can, if you want to offset cook, you can just that temperature down to 200 degrees and offset cook. So you get the advantages of both ways of cooking that way. And then we have the PG 1000, which is the upscale side of our pellet grill line, which is an insulated cabinet. It has what I like to call more sex appeal, rollback lids, some of those kind of things.
I know that you like to kind of spread the good word of 4-zone cooking. So what does that mean to you, and how can you take advantage of it?
Yes, 4-zone cooking is we have four zones in the pellet grills. The first zone is that searing zone. So, I personally, when I cook a steak, I like to cook a strip steak, and I like to cook it, an inch to an inch and a half thick, and I'm about 2 minutes on each side. And I like the middle of it to be, red and juicy.
Yeah.
And so that searing grate really allows you to do that. Puts beautiful, marks on there, so it looks like, really, a steak that just came off of a red hot grill, which it did. So that's zone one. Zone two is the offset side. So you can cook. I like to call it the smoking zone. So you're putting your beef briskets, your pork butts on there. My competition chicken I cook on there. I cook my thighs at 400 degrees, about 45 minutes. Does a great job on those. So that's zone two. Zone three then would be a traditional top grill of any grill. So if you buy any gas grill out there on the marketplace, you have almost all of them have a top grill. It's a great place to cook vegetables, those kind of things. I'll even throw, I throw any kind of stuff up there on it from time to time. So just a traditional, second grill of a grill. And then the fourth zone is our warming drawer, and we call it a warming drawer, but it'll be at half of the temperature of whatever you're cooking at. So it's a great place to cold smoke. I'll take a steak and put it down in there and cold smoke it for 20, 30 minutes to get really a nice smoke flavor, and then take it up and grill it in the first zone. Or you can cold smoke cheese in there. Also, if I'm doing baked beans, I love to throw them down in there. If I've got, a bunch of hamburgers to cook, I'll cook them over in zone two. And as they get finished up, I'll throw them down in the warming drawer and then, put some more on the grill. So gives you a lot of options, a lot of different ways to cook. Which to me is great for the backyard guy, that wants to go out there and just play and, create great tasting food.
Is the warming drawer just an option on the PG 1000, or is it on both?
No, it's on both of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on both of them.
Yeah, a lot of versatility with that for sure.
Yeah.
The other item on the website that I wanted to ask you about the last time I had you on, and we just kind of ran out of time, was the char broilers.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's we came out with those actually right before we came out with the grill. And we were, I was looking at the wood-fired grills in the restaurants and how difficult those were for a restaurant to get somebody to cook on. You had to have somebody who knew how to manage a fire, plus you had to have somebody who knew how to cook.
Yep.
So two very different things. With pellets, I can control that temperature perfectly and still give you the flavor of cooking over wood. And that was my original thought about it was, this is a great way for that guy that wants to cook over wood to be able to do that. Then I started realizing, listen, this thing is as easy to cook on as a gas grill. But you get all the flavor of cooking over wood. And so, we sell quite a few of them to replace gas grills in restaurants. And we sell some guys that want to put them on their back porch. I mean, I like for my backyard cooking, well, I'm a big believer that every backyard ought to have a grill and a smoker in it.
Yeah.
And to me, the charbroiler gives you a great way to have a grill to just do direct grilling on, and an electric smoker or even a pellet-fired smoker to do your smoking on is great. So, I like to have both of those things, and I love the charbroiler because of the space you get on it. You can, on a 24-inch charbroiler, you're going to be able to cook about 12 ribeyes at a time on there.
Oh, wow.
So, I have a 36-inch one in my house, and, I can have a pretty good-sized party over, and bang, away you go.
Yeah, well, I'll be looking for the invite next time that thing gets fired up.
Absolutely.
We're talking with us.
You got to come over.
Absolutely. Stuart Powell joining me here on the show, President and CEO of Cook Shack. Again, the website, cookshack.com. If you want more info, he's also heading out to Miami, Oklahoma this weekend for the first barbecue competition event of their 2014 season. Stuart, good luck at Smokin on the Run this weekend, and thanks so much for coming on tonight.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it a bunch.
You got it. There he is. Stuart Powell. Bringing it strong. Okay, so now I got to find out how much a charbroiler is so I can get one. Yeah. I want something that's like a grill, but will also allow me to cook over pellets, like at grilling temperatures. I mean, what's the biggest knock that you hear about all pellet grills? Or at least the majority of them. I'm not saying all of them. The ones, which ones I'm talking about. They have a tough time getting up past 375, 400, 425. You get something that sounds like the charbroiler, it could get you up to grilling temp. And it's over real wood. I like it. There's one of those places that he was talking about, the grills over wood downtown Cleveland we love to go to. Pickwick and Frolic. That's something to see. Look, folks, as we just talked about with Stuart, the competition season is here. Are you ready? Cook Shack has the smoker to get you to the winner's circle. Fast Eddie's by Cook Shack, FEC 100, is the choice of many teams on the circuit. Dave Bosco, Butcher Barbecue, Dana Hillis of Big Papa's Country Kitchen, Todd Johns of Plowboys have competed using FEC 100 for years. David won the 2012 barbecue contest at the World Food Championships in Las Vegas, was featured on last season's Barbecue Pitmasters show. Todd Johns won the American Royal in 2009 using his FEC 100s. Other notable teams using them: Diva Q, Danielle Demoski, Jiggy Piggy, Pork Patrol Barbecue, and Jeff Northcutt from Dr. Nordy's Barbecue. So why do these legendary pitmasters prefer the FEC 100? Todd Johns of Plowboys considers the two FEC 100s a member of his cooking team. They handle his fire management. He can cook by himself, and he doesn't have to worry about his temperatures. They will be consistent. He can roll into a contest at 6 o'clock at night, prep his meat, and be ready to cook quickly. The FEC puts you in control so you can concentrate on your flavor profiles and making those turn-in boxes. Cook Shack also has testimonials and how-to videos on their website, cookshack.com, and their YouTube channel if you want to see these pitmasters tell you themselves why they prefer the Cook Shack FEC 100 for their competition season. The FEC 100 features a digital Cook Shack IQ4 control, which lets you set the smoke cook time and temperature and holding temperature. The heat and flavor source is 100% food-grade wood pellets are easily obtainable, inexpensive, easy to store. The pellet heat is controlled by a fully automated pellet system and produces very little ash as compared to traditional stick burners and regular charcoal. If you want more smoke flavor, Cook Shack offers you an optional log burner that we just talked about. Just one call to the sales professionals at Cook Shack, 800-423-0698. That's 800-423-0698. They can tell you all about it. Check them out on the website, cookshack.com, and discover the taste of real barbecue. It's the good folks over at Cook Shack. Thanks again to Stuart Powell for joining me this past segment. And we are back with Dennis May right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to Stuart Powell for joining me this past segment. Cookshack.com, by the way, is the phone number if you want to check it out. Let me get my table set up here. Let me get the table set. My last guest tonight, certainly, this Sam's Club series, one of the more popular events that we have seen barbecue competition-wise. My next guest took part in the Baton Rouge local event this past weekend, walked away with a grand championship. So let's go ahead and head on over to the hotline so we can get the recap from the pitmaster of Smokin N The Dark, Dennis May, joining me here on the show. Dennis, how are you, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm fine.
Appreciate you making the time tonight, Dennis. And, a lot of things that we can talk about in regards to this past weekend. But first, I guess, let's go ahead and get to the quick background on you and kind of how you stepped into this whole barbecue competition cooking game.
Well, let's see. I've been cooking all my life, and I just kind of like around 2004, 2005, I really wanted me a big trailer pit to help out with some of the church work and some of the stuff I did around my house and everything. Also, I cook a lot for the youth. And here in Texas, we have a youth organization I cook for. And it's a Go Texan organization here in Texas. And I wanted to build a big pit, and I did. And, me and the wife, we played around with it, and the neighbors said, you cook good. And they had a little cook-off north of town, and we didn't know a darn thing about it. I hauled half the cotton picking pantry down there. I had every spice in the world, picked out a couple of briskets, and that's what it was, a brisket cook, and we froze to death. We didn't live 2 miles from the darn cook-off, but we thought we had to stay in the back of the Tahoe all night and freeze to death. We cooked that doggone brisket and ended up winning, and we got a trophy and a little check for it, and and it's like, well, we got bit by the bug, and then it's like, well, we went to like 3 or 4 different contests, and we got what handed to us, and it was like, well, that just set you back. We thought we were good, and we wasn't as good as we thought we were. It was a long learning curve after that.
Yeah, that's what was going to be my next question is, when you go out, you win right away, and then you get your ass handed to you the next couple times out. Is it frustrating enough to make you rethink the whole deal, or is it just, enough of a kick in the pants to say, all right, let me really kind of step back here and hone the craft?
Well, yeah, I had to step back. I mean, I didn't know what I got myself into. I just jumped in head first, really. I was just kind of a sink or swim kind of thing, and I wasn't that serious about it at first. It was just a couple of local cook-offs, and then they did one here down in Beaumont, Texas, and everything. We were looking at for win grand champion. And I guess after that, I really got serious about it and really started trying to hone my craft as best I could.
Dennis May joining me here on the show, pitmaster of Smokin in the Dark. How many people on the team, Dennis?
It's just me and my wife, Vicky. Me and my wife. It's just 2 of us.
And you two ever get chippy with each other during the course of a weekend at a contest?
Well, we try not to ever let that happen. We try to keep our karma good because we try to get along real good. We try over the years. We've really organized, and I would recommend anybody doing that. We've got a real good competition checkoff sheet that she buys the groceries and I buy the meat. And I kind of do it that way, and we check everything off, and we check our RV and everything, get everything done. So we try to minimize the problems that you can have during a contest.
I'm endlessly fascinated by names of barbecue competition cooking teams. How do you come up with Smokin in the Dark? And then, of course, the spelling is a little bit unique as well.
Well, we came up with it a long time ago. It's like, we really just had our heads, up, where, and everything was dark, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were stumbling around in the dark, and before you knew it, the name just came out, and it was just one of them things, and it kind of stuck. So we just stayed with it.
Dennis May is my guest. So if we could, let's take a look back at this past weekend, Dennis. And, first of all, I guess, was there anything unusual about the contest that you had to contend with that maybe you didn't allot for?
No. It wasn't nothing unusual about it. Sam's puts on a real good contest. They really have. We've cooked it the whole time that they've had it going, and Troy Black and his staff and everything, they do a good job. And I've never had a problem with any of the Sam's cook-offs.
And I assume the cook, just in a general sense, went pretty well for you guys?
Oh yeah, it went real good. Like I said, I've been cooking on that same pit for a long time. I am in the process of building another pit. I built this one here, but I'm in the process of building another pit. It's just that some pits, I cook an offset stick burner, which is, by most people it's the hardest one to cook with, and this one doesn't have an insulated firebox. And we kind of 2 years ago were at the Royal where the high temperature was about 26 and the wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour. And man, I looked more like one of them old timey cartoon guys on there that were just shoving wood into a big coal burner. I couldn't concentrate on my cooking because all I was doing was trying to maintain temperatures.
So if we look at the results of the past weekend, I mean, really outstanding. You're 7th in chicken, you win ribs, you get a 6th in pork, and 2nd in brisket. And, I talk with pitmasters pretty much each week, and everybody's always preaching consistency and the process. And, take a look at your results. The worst one was 7th. You win a category, you get a 2nd in another one. I'm sure any pitmaster would take those results at any given contest. As you look at the cooks that you have done compared to this one, how does this one rank? I mean, was this one of the better ones? Is it sitting near the top?
Yeah, this. There's any time we're in grand champion, you're going to consider it a good one. Yeah, somebody hands you a 180, that does a whole lot for your total points right there for sure. But it was a good cook. I thought everything was great. I don't hardly even eat barbecue. My wife is our official taster, and I cook it and she tastes it and she gives me one and oh my God, everything's great. And that's the best I can do. And I just turn it in, let the chips fall where they may.
I assume that you guys, after the winning the local, that you'll go ahead and push on to the regional event in Midwest City.
Oh yeah, we'll push on to the regional. There'll be no doubt about that.
You said you're from Beaumont, Texas. Texas is a big IBCA country down there, obviously. Do you do a mix of sanctioning bodies? Will you lean more towards one or the other? You try and get them all in?
No, to be honest with you, we really do more IBCA in the Texas Gulf Coast down here in Texas than we do the KCBS. We like the KCBS contest. We just don't have that many in Texas. I think we had one in Bedford. We were lucky to have one this year in Huntsville, but the only problem was I cook for the rodeo in Houston, and I do that big cook-off every year. So that weekend I was over in Houston cooking. Well, I can't be in two places at one time.
No, that's very tough to do. I've tried it myself with little to no success. IBCA cooks seem to fare better going into other sanctioning bodies' backyards than it is the other way around. Do you see the same type of a thing?
Yeah, I do. I think one of the biggest reasons is IBCA will humble you into the fact that you only have 3 meats. And it's a blind box, and you're really going on, taste and tenderness. But the appearance is good, but it's not as big on the points as the KCBS is. You really got to earn those appearance points in KCBS.
Do you think it's kind of a pain in the ass, or do you just think is what kind of separates them from some of the other bodies?
I think a lot of people think it's a pain in the ass, and I do. I mean, let's face it. It's just something you throw away. It's parsley and people throw it away, or it's lettuce, people throw it away. And I don't think it needs to be there. I think good food stands for itself. And I think the IBCA, I had a discussion. There was a couple of guys behind me, and they were saying, "Well, the KCBS sanctioned body is the best one, more fair." And I said, "Well, that could be true." I said, "You can have that opinion, but I said, have you ever thought about it this way?" I said, "You're never going to taste first place brisket, first place rib, first place chicken, or first place pork at a KCBS event unless that pitmaster invites you back to his camp and lets you taste it. Where in the IBCA, when they get through, all the boxes are in the front. You're welcome to go up there and taste the first pay part. You know, they say, well, I'll get a score sheet and I'll know where I'm at. Well, what are you going to do with that score sheet? You going to take 75 cents and buy a cup of coffee with it? That's not going to tell you about a flavor profile. That's not going to tell you about what John Q. Public out there wants to eat.
That's right. Dennis May joining me here on the show, pitmaster of Smokin in the Dark. How many total contests do you have at least planned out this far in advance?
This year, we're probably going to do around 26.
And the majority of those, you said, will be IBCA then? Yes,
sir. Majority is going to be IBCA. It's a good sanctioned body. I'm telling you right now, they're really good folks. I'd welcome anybody because, I mean, IBCA basically, you know, you don't have so-called sanctioned judges. You don't have certified judges. You can judge it. I can judge it. Your mama can judge it. Your daughter can judge it. Anybody can judge it, you know, and that's who you're cooking for. You're cooking for John Q. Public. You know, and you still have to cook good food. I mean, there's no doubt about it, you know, and IBCA will teach you some humbleization in the fact that sometimes, you know, people think, well, if I go out and spend $150 on a cotton pickled Wagyu brisket, I can take it down here to barbecue in this backwoods down here with 30 teams and I can do real well. Well, I'm going to here tell you that don't always work because a lot of times you're putting that ball right over the top of their head and they never tasted a Wagyu brisket, so how are they supposed to know? You know, you're better off to go down to Walmart and get you a good choice brisket and cook that. Because if you can cook it right, you're going to do better with that than you are that big high-dollar brisket.
Dennis, when you got into this game, did you take any classes at all? I mean, obviously the big cooking classes have been pretty popular here for the last number of years. So obviously you said there was a lot of trial and error on your part, but have you done any of the cooking classes to do a little ramp-up?
I did. I did Johnny Trigg's class. I did it back in 2007. And we enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed Johnny. He's in Texas here, and I've known him for a long time. And I told him, you know, if he ever put on a cooking class, I'd go to it. And one of his first ones, I did attend it.
Last question here before I let you go, Dennis, and I appreciate the time tonight. Is competition barbecue becoming too much of a quote-unquote rich man's sport? And it doesn't seem cheap to me, especially on the small percentage of winning back some expenses because you're laying out quite a bit when you go to these competitions. You know, to me, I see a lot of variables that can affect the outcome. If you don't, even if you cook your balls off, you might be walking away with little to no money. Is it becoming a rich man sport, if you will?
No, because I don't consider myself a rich man by no means. I work for Goodyear Chemical and been working for them 37 years, and I'm not a rich man. You do have to learn to buy your meat and where to buy it at, you know, and don't be frugal with your money. You have to pick your contest. You know, I would tell anybody that was just starting out, you know, if you want to pick the hometown thing, that's fine. Don't go extravagant with everything because just because a lot of people cook on big high-end cookers, it doesn't take that to win. It really doesn't. I know people that cook really good barbecue. I cook excellent chicken on a cotton picking trash can. I cooked excellent chicken on a Weber. My Weber didn't work good in the high winds because it picked up a lot of you know, your ashes and stuff. That's the only reason I went to a drum. You know, it just you can win on a lot of things. The key, like you said a while ago, is consistency, and it is practice, and it is doing the same thing, and it is repetitiveness. What I'm trying to say. You have to do the same thing over and over. You have to practice in the backyard the same way you're going to practice. You have to set up and go ahead. I'd advise anybody getting into it, you know, go to Sam's, buy you some turn-in boxes. You know, cook the meat in the backyard. Bring the thing in. Bring the doggone box in here in the air conditioner. Let it sit there in the middle of the summer and get cold. Because that's what people are going to eat. They're going to eat that good cold barbecue. And if you can cook good cold barbecue in IBCA contest, man, you can win. You really can.
I think that's a great point that very few pitmasters have made here on the show is, you know, they cook it and then they wait till it cools off and then they taste it to see how their flavor profiles are because, as you said, that's how the judges are going to taste it. I think that's a great point.
Well, they really are. And it even holds true with quesadillas. I mean, even though we try real hard to get a good hot product up there, I mean, let's face it, guys. Well, sometimes it's cold outside, and sometimes they judge outside. And if that product sits there for any time at all, especially like a thin slice of brisket, you got a quarter to a 3/8 inch slice of brisket sitting on top of a whole cotton picking thing of parsley. It's cooling off pretty doggone quick.
No doubt about it.
And if you don't have good cold barbecue, I'm sorry, you ain't going to win.
That's right. Dennis May just won the Baton Rouge, Louisiana Sam's Club local event this past weekend, and obviously he'll be moving on to the regional final in Midwest City, Oklahoma on September 20th. He'll be competing in the meantime. Dennis, really appreciate the time tonight. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. There he is. The winner of the Baton Rouge, I just like saying that, Baton Rouge, Louisiana Sam's Club local event. And again, that feeds into the Midwest City, Oklahoma regional final, September 20th. Look for him there. And I think it's proving out that the IBCA cooks have a little better time playing in other people's backyards than the flip side for the majority. Not in all cases. KCBS teams don't take me to task. Just saying, in the how I've seen it, when people are starting flopping around, take it for what it's worth. Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply, known for their amazing wide selection of cooker sauce, rub, all things for the backyard cook and the serious competition team. They got it right there. They sell Big Green Eggs, Kamado Joe cookers, Primos, Mac and Green Mountain pellet grills, all the Weber grills, all of them. And the smokers, as well as Meadow Creek smokers and cookers. They're one of the biggest, largest barbecue guru dealers in the country. Very first to offer professional and amateur cooking classes featuring well-known chef celebrities like Harry Sue from Plowboy, Todd John from Plowboys, Dan Hickson from Three Eyes Barbecue, all great teams. So you call Fred Bernardo the smoking guitar player, or you call him whatever you want, just as long as you buy something, for crying out loud. Anyway, I mean, call him up right now, or his friendly staff. Well, maybe not right now, but maybe tomorrow morning. 800-677-2882. 800-677-2882. Or just go over to your friendly internets and look them up there. TastyLicksBBQ.com. That's TastyLicksBBQ.com. And don't forget that the Smoking Guitar Player has over 150 cooking videos on the website as well, and a couple of them, he doesn't even try and sell you anything, believe it or not. I know you think I'm kidding, but I'm not. So head on over, Tasty Licks BBQ Supply, downtown, beautiful, tropical Shillington, Pennsylvania, or visit them on the web, TastyLicksBBQ.com, 800-677-2882. That's 800-677-2882. Fred Bernardo and the gang over there at Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply. All right, we're back to wrap up the show right after this. Stick around. We will be right back.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Big B, Moonshine Band, Suburban Waste Records. Let's go! I'm an outlaw. Give me 2 shots. We don't need a radio. Bring a jukebox.
Man, almost had a terrible accident. Taking a quick drink of water and it slipped right out of my hand. We almost had a water accident of seismic proportions. That would have been terrible. Oh, my Lord. All right, thanks again to Dennis May from Smokin in the Dark, talking about his win, recapping the win over there last weekend at the Sam's Club local. Always good to see another sanctioning body team come up in the different arenas and sanctioning bodies and do very well, so he'll move on to the Midwest City, Oklahoma. Oh, look at this. We got another call coming in. I wonder who this could be.
Greg, this is your mother calling. Honey, who are you taking phone calls from in the beginning of the second hour? He's calling in. He's saying something like, Greg, this is your mother calling. Meanwhile, sir, you don't sound anything like me. You're ridiculous. I think you're borderline profane and insane. You should give me your phone and I will take it from you. You should not be making fun of me, for crying out loud. Greg, why are you letting this man make fun of me?
Mom, I wasn't letting anybody make fun of you. This is a live show. Sometimes I get phone calls, and this is what happens when you take live phone calls. People want to have, I don't know if they were making fun of you or anything like that, but somebody was, what did they say? imitation, sincerest form of flattery.
Look here, young man, shut your mouth and let me talk. I've had enough of this. This man, he calls in, he's pretending to be... And sir, I know you're a man, meanwhile I'm a woman. I don't have a penis, okay, sir? I know the difference. I could hear your manly voice. I don't sound like that. So listen here, Greg, I'm telling you right now as your mother. Stop letting these people call in and think that they're me. I know it's only been one time, but stop it. Or I'm done coming on this show. I won't have it. Now I have to get back to your father. He's fallen asleep in the chair. He's had one too many martinis, for crying out loud. I've got to go.
All right, Mom, thanks for calling in. I guess the second... Well, that wasn't you the first time. I know. Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Wow, she shot out of a cannon tonight. Wow. I believe that was really my mother. Whoever called in at the beginning of the first hour or second hour was not my mother. She is not your mother. All right, let's get out of here, folks. Let's call it a day. All right, all the way back in the first hour, we spoke with Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com. We talked about extremely hot weather cooking. We talked about what you should put in the water pan, water. We talked about if you're looking, you're not cooking, myth busted. Then we moved to the second hour. We talked with Stuart Powell, president and CEO of Cook Shack. His website, cookshack.com. If you are in the line for, the pellet cookers, they got plenty of them. They're really good. The FE line of cookers, of course, is something you might want to take a look at. Maybe you don't want to mess around with pellet grills at all. You don't want the stick burners, you want anything like that. You want an electric cooker. Cook Shack makes spectacular electric cookers as well. And then helping me round out the second hour, coming out of the bully, Dennis May from Smokin in the Dark, recapping his big win at the local qualifying contest at the Sam's Club 2014 series in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He'll be moving on to the regional final. Cooking in between, of course, keeping the skills sharp. But September 20th, Midwest City, Oklahoma, which has proven to be a very tough regional to move on to in regards to the final. So we'll look forward to see how that plays out. If you have the raw cast iron that season it each and every time, please, gives you generations of rust-free service. Also, September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Till next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.